the head of MENA Research, excuse me, at Emirates MBD. Up next, the very latest from a CEO. He's coming to the market. SARWA Capital, the Egyptian consumer and structured finance provider, looks to raise $120 million. What will he do with it? We put that question to him. His IPO is due. This is Bloomberg.
This is the 42nd meeting of the Fed's Economic Symposium, and we turn to the Fed officials who are going to be here.
2 more rate hikes this year could be appropriate.
There certainly seems to be sentiment to go in that direction.
There is concern about trade.
Free trade actually benefits countries if you actually look at the history.
The Fed remains on the policy path it has been on for some time.
The approach is one that makes a lot of sense.
We ought to be moving toward neutral, which means 3 or 4 increases over the next 9 to 12 months.
The Egyptian consumer and structured finance provider SARWA Capital plans to sell a stake of as much as 40% in an initial public offering to raise capital for expansion. It's Cairo-based, and the plans are to list the shares on the local stock exchange early next month. The expected proceeds, $120 million. Let's have a conversation with the CEO from SARWA Capital. It is Hazem Moussa. Hazem, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. The ambitions are clear, which is a vote for Egypt. Let's float it home. You're on the road show.
That's correct.
Let's tie a few things down. Are we any closer to a timing, a date, and a price? I know you want $120 million. What's the bandwidth for price?
Well, we just started our process a few days ago, the roadshow. We were in Abu Dhabi a few days ago. We went to South Africa, here in Dubai, off to Saudi Arabia tonight, and then back to Egypt, UK, US. So it's a long process, but it's very interesting. We're meeting a very wide range of investors. There's a lot of interest in the company, and I think it stems from interest in the market as a whole.
And price?
As you said, we're looking to raise $125 million. That should be about 40% of the company. So subject to regulatory approval, of course, we're still in the process of fair value reports and prospectus and so on. So it should be somewhere in the range of $300 million for the company valuation, and 40% will be the free float.
Okay, and that would give me an Egyptian pound price tag if it coming to the market off?
The whole company, 4.5 to 5 billion, roughly.
Okay, but the price in pounds, where are you targeting that in terms of the market? £5, £6, £7?
The shares, 7 to 8 pounds, somewhere in between.
Okay. Any big pillar investors? You're on the road show. You're going to Saudi tonight.
Yes.
Let's see whether MBS wants to put some money into it. But are you seeing any core institutional names wanting to buy a proportion of the company?
Yes, absolutely. There's been a lot of interest. We've also gone on a long pre-marketing trip a few months ago to shore up initial interest, and there's been already several investors that have expressed interest in taking substantial stakes.
When you say substantial stake, what do you mean? 3%, 4%, 5%?
Yeah. In that range.
In that range?
In that range. So, but obviously, we're still in the beginning of the process. We have a long way to go on this roadshow, and the signs are good. So let's see. Hopefully, things will turn out well.
What's my risk here? I'm looking at your default rates. I mean, you do insurance for houses, for cars. We'll talk about that. So you got auto credit, you got household furnishing, you got a whole range of business. Your default rate stands at an impressive, 0.3% at the moment.
Yes.
What is my risk here? Can you sustain those kind of default levels, or do I just naturally assume as you grow, they will rise?
Well, we've grown quite substantially in the past few years, and we've been growing at over 50% annually for the past 5 years, both on sort of income and business size. So we're looking to continue that growth. One of the key things that we've put in place and built this business around is our credit assessment and collection capability, so that the credit know-how is the core part of the business. And we spent a number of years at the beginning building just that, so that as we grow more aggressively, like we are now, that we do not have to be in that, in that situation. That's the key part of our business.
Raising $120 million, what are you actually going to spend that on? Is that for tech? Is that for development? What is the key purpose of the capital?
Okay, a business like ours, I mean, the key part that we're investing in is boosting our equity base overall. That feeds into many parts, including our overall capacity, on balance sheet, off balance sheet. As you know, we're the largest issuer of securitization bonds in the market.
You are 79%. You are 79% of the securitization
The market is still quite small. We're hoping that it will grow and that we can be a smaller part of a much bigger market. But we're the most active player in the market, and so boosting our equity opens up our capacity across the board. We'll also be investing in insurance as we're setting up a new insurance business that we hope will be a big part of our future as well. We're working in markets that are very underpenetrated, and so the key part of the strategy is to try to roll out products that help increase penetration rates across the board in finance and insurance. The country is going through a big phase of trying to push financial inclusion, and we feel that we're an important contributor to that.
Always trying to benchmark. I mean, the last time I was in the country was just a couple of months ago. I was there with the finance minister trying to assess, it's a good news story. Inflation, good news, the currency stability, etc. How strong is the consumer?
Well, the consumer is a key part of the economy, of course. The Egyptian economy is built on, or a key contributor to it is consumption. It's not the only one, it shouldn't be the only one. But in particular in financial services, the numbers are extremely low. The penetration figures are low. They've gone up in recent years. There's still a long way to go. In insurance, numbers are very low. And there's a lot of work to be done there to bring out new products to market, new services to market in ways that appeal to the Egyptian consumer across the board.
Well, we wish you well with the IPO. Let's hope that you get the value that you want, and the core investors that you're talking to. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. That is the CEO of SARWA Capital coming to the market at home, Hazem Moussa. Up next, the hedge